Hi guys, my name's Ian Barnard. Welcome to a new video. So last week Apple kindly invited me to their special event at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York. They didn't tell me why I was invited, but I had a guess that they might be announcing the new iPad Pros. So the whole event was heavily themed around the creative arts, with Apple reportedly commissioning 400 different artists to make the custom Apple logos that you saw on all the invites and the amazing intro to the keynote as well. I wasn't really fussed by announcements of the new MacBook Air or MacBook Mini, but when Apple announced the new iPad Pros, it was like their mic drop moment, and I was totally sold even before the nicely polished video finished. But before we get into why I was sold so quickly, I think we'd better unbox this thing. So it comes in a similar box to the first and second generation iPad Pros. Full color photo on the front, Apple logo on bottom and top, and iPad Pro written on the sides. When you first pick this up, you realise just how small it is, and you might be confused that you've ordered the wrong size, but they have just made the 12.9 inch a lot smaller than it used to be. Underneath that you have the usual documentation and Apple stickers just in white. This is the cellular one, so it also comes with the SIM card tray remover. Under that you have the power brick with these clever prongs that spring out. And last, you have a USB-C to USB-C charging cable. Yes, not a lightning cable like you used to get, but I'll talk about more of that later. Moving on to the Apple Pencil, same style as before with a picture of the pencil on the front. It says Apple Pencil on the sides. You get the documentation on the top, just paper, not like the previous generation where you would get a spare nib inside here. I don't know why they haven't included that this time. And the Apple Pencil itself, instantly you can see it's much smaller than before. And no cap to lose as well, which is a bonus. I'm not a tech reviewer, so I'm not going to bore you with the details that mean nothing to me.
In fact, this new A12X has more than 10 billion transistors.
So what I'm going to do is give you my view of what excites me about the new iPad, the details that matter for us as digital artists, so that you can make a good decision about whether to purchase or upgrade to this product. And I want to start with the Apple Pencil. Love them or hate them, you can't deny that Apple got the formula just right with their first stylus. It's the best on the market with actually no lag and great pressure sensitivity. But nothing is perfect, and what has always frustrated me is how you charge it. There are two ways that you would charge the original Pencil: plugging it into the lightning port at the bottom of the iPad, or using the adapter to connect it to the charging cable. Both are crappy solutions, and which meant I would always be running about 10% power because I was so lazy to do either of those solutions. So when Apple showed the video of the Pencil magnetically connecting and wirelessly charging onto the iPad, I went crazy. In my head, because I'm British, I still couldn't do any whoop whoop like the American audience did. Since receiving the Pencil nearly a week ago, it hasn't dropped below 80% charge. The convenience of wireless charge means that whenever it's not in use, it's stored away via the magnetic connector, charging away. So when next time I come to use it, it's always full of juice. And this magnet is seriously strong. The magnet isn't a new concept. Microsoft have been using it on their Surface Pros for ages. It's the wireless charging, that's where it's at. One of the questions I got frequently asked was, does it feel different to hold than the original Apple Pencil? My answer to that is a little bit. The matte finish feels nicer in the hand. It's slightly shorter than the original Apple Pencil, so it feels more balanced. And on part of it, it has a flat side, which makes it feel like a regular pencil more than the original one did. The actual nib looks identical to the first generation one, so the physical connection of the screen just seems the same. And this leads nicely to the new tap gesture. About a quarter of the way up from the nib on the pencil is an area where you can double tap to change your tool. I've got mine currently set up in Procreate to change from the brush I'm using to the eraser tool, but you can set it up to do lots of different things. And with apps having access to this now, they will create their own custom shortcuts for this. In practice, this is really handy, but I did find myself naturally rotating the pencil as I was using it. So I would go to double tap it and either nothing would happen because it wasn't in the right position, or I would accidentally tap the gesture and it would select the razor while I was still using the brush. One extra thing to note is that when it's locked, you can use the pencil to tap the screen to bring up a new note. At the moment, I don't think this can be customized and it doesn't unlock the actual iPad. Unfortunately, the new Apple Pencils aren't compatible with the old iPads, and the old Apple Pencils aren't compatible with the new iPads. So bear that in mind, that you're not just upgrading your iPad, you're going to have to get the new Apple Pencil too. Now, turning our attention to the iPad itself, Apple claim that it's 25% smaller in volume than the previous iPad, and because I still own the second generation iPad, I can confirm that this is true. On the 12.9-inch models, they both have the same size screen, but Apple have removed the home button and given it an edge-to-edge display, so it has a much smaller footprint. They've also made it thinner at 5.9mm and squared off the edges like the original iPad, iPhone SE and iPhone 4. It does have a bigger camera bump, which I thought would make it rock on a flat surface, but for some reason it doesn't move at all. It now has that liquid retina display. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is beautiful and vibrant. But then the other iPads had a beautiful and vibrant display. I can't exactly notice the difference at the moment if I put them side by side, but I'm sure there are certain apps that will show its full potential. Speed-wise, Apple claim the new iPads are faster than 92% of laptops. It does seem a bit quicker to me, but then I use Procreate, which doesn't seem to be that memory hungry. Over the past 2 months, I've gone from using the first generation to the second generation to the third generation of iPad Pro, and all of them seem to run the apps I use most often really well. What I think they're setting these iPad Pros up for is the range of Adobe apps that are on the horizon. They did a live demo at the Keynote of Photoshop for iPad, using hundreds of layers and zooming in and out and not getting any redraw. On the desktop, Photoshop needs a lot of memory to function well. And as they're trying to make the iPad equivalent, I think they're going to need all the extra processing power that these new chips produce. As I said earlier, they had to remove the home button to make this device smaller. So that means Face ID is the main way to unlock this device. This seems to work quite well. Doesn't matter whether you've got it in portrait or landscape mode, or even flat on the desk with your face angled towards it. I don't own an iPhone X, so this is new to me, and the swiping up function is something I got used to quite quickly, and I seem to be swapping between apps much quicker than I would do with the physical home button. Something they've also changed is the main connector. Gone is the Lightning port, and now they've replaced it with a USB-C connector. This is great news for me because now my MacBook Pro, my Pixel phone, and my iPad all share the same lead. This also means you can connect it up to your camera if it has USB connector, or to an external monitor. They had this on show after the keynote at the hands-on area. They plugged one of the iPads running Procreate up to an LG ultrafine 4K monitor. The monitor was showing the artwork in full, zoomed out, and they were using the iPad to zoom in and edit the artwork. And this saves time sort of zooming in and out. You can just look up, give your neck some exercise and see it on the monitor, but you do need to have like $700 of spare change to buy the monitor in the first place. In terms of battery life, Apple claims it can get up to 10 hours, but this depends on what apps you're using. Something I noticed with the first generation iPad Pros was that even while I was working on it, the battery would still go down even though it was plugged into the charger. This doesn't seem to be the case with the new ones due to the USB-C connection. Finally, let's talk about price. The 11-inch model starts at $799 and the 12.9-inch model at $999. On top of that, you'll need to add the price for the Apple Pencil, which you'll need if you're going to do any form of art on this, and this costs around $129. Space-wise, I would recommend getting the 256GB model over the 64GB base model. I always recommend going for the 12.9-inch model over the smaller ones. This is due to the fact that it's the same size as a piece of drawing paper, And also you don't have to spend so much time zooming in and out. So in total, you're going to have to spend just under $1,300, which is a lot of money for a tablet. The one I've got here is the maxed out version, and it comes with 1 terabyte of storage and Wi-Fi and cellular, and that comes in at just under $2,200. That's more than I paid for my MacBook Pro 15-inch Touch Bar and my 27-inch iMac. So should you buy or upgrade to the new iPads? If you've got the money and you're willing to invest in them, then yes. 80 to 90% of my time now is spent on the iPad Pros for my lettering. If you haven't got the finances, then I recommend checking out either the second or first generation iPad Pros. I was still using the first generation up to a couple of months ago, and I didn't have any problems running the apps I was using. It's an awesome tool, and combining that with apps like Procreate and the quality of the Apple Pencil is definitely the best in its class. But what if you have the first or second generation iPad anyway? Is it worth upgrading? Do you think the hugely better way of charging Apple Pencil, the smaller footprint, and future-proofing the speed, display and connector are worth the extra cash once you traded in your older model? I think it is, but I will let your wallet decide.